The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. And thrilled to be here with you on this Thursday. My goodness, we've got so much to talk about and I'm so excited because I just love our guests that we're having on today. Thrilled to be here though this morning. We want to remind you that we're going to be live with you for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. We hope that no matter who you are in the autism community, that you'll find something of worth here, whether you are a parent, a teacher, a practitioner, whether you are a person who is on the autism spectrum yourself. We hope that you will join us in our quest to find answers and resources that will help you to get to the progress that you so richly deserve, and the support that you deserve, right? We like to remind you that the show is meant to be interactive. We want you to participate with us. We enjoy having a conversation with you, and there are many different ways in which that can happen. Samantha is going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate here with us, while I remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go to our homepage, there's a lot of stuff to do. I will tell you, I have not been good about blogging lately, so when something happens that I feel the need to blog about, then it's pretty major, right? There's a new blog up. So make sure that you check it out because it has to do with kind of both of our guests today, in fact. So check out our new blog that's there. But you can also be watching the live show on the homepage. All you have to do is click on the triangle that's on the computer screen, and that starts the live show playing or the most recently recorded live show playing. We also have to the side of all of that is something we call the live feature. It's a series of white boxes, and if you will put your cursor in the box that says your question, start typing, hit enter, that's really all you have to do. You don't have to log in, there's no username, there's no password, but it shows up here on my screen, and in that way you and I can have a conversation, and so much more important than that, we can ask your questions of the guests that we have and the experts that we have here on the show. It's totally free, it's totally anonymous. In fact, if you put specific information into your question, I won't share it. You'll see that sometimes I don't put a question up on the screen, and that's because somebody has included private information. But if you do, and you don't have to put private information, you can be completely anonymous, but if you do want us to get back to you, realize that if you just post a question, we will answer it, and that's not a problem. But if there's something you specifically wanted us to get back to you, I'd have no way of knowing who you are, which is both good and bad. So you make your choices, and we will not share your private information with anybody, which I think is a pretty good deal. I always like to remind you at the start of the show that we have many experts who are here with us on a weekly basis that join us and talk to us about all kinds of things on the autism spectrum. Lots and lots of experts, a cavalcade, if you will, of experts, but I'm not one of them, right? And don't be confused, because a lot of times I sound so sure of myself, but I'm not an expert in the field of autism. I'm an autism mom. I'm a former teacher and an autism mom, and my son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he is 13 now. He is the light of my life, but let's face it, I've just entered the teenage years, so what do I really know? This is the phase in life when you know nothing, right? And if you were confused about that, your 13-year-old will tell you. And I am so lucky that my son on the autism spectrum has the ability to communicate to me that he thinks I know nothing. Woohoo! I won the lottery. No, but seriously, there was a time in our lives when we didn't know if that day would come. I can remember a friend saying to me about her child saying, oh, he's at that phase where he told me he hates me. And she's like, you just wait until that happens to you, Shannon, and you'll see it's really horrible. And I I said to her, oh, okay, I think I'm going to cheer on that day. If that day comes, I think I'm going to be happy and excited that my child has the ability to communicate that. And the first time he said, I hate you, I was like, yes! Yes, we made it. Yes, so I'm thrilled that I have a 13-year-old who tells me I know nothing. You know, we see the miracles in all kinds of things. And I need to be quite honest about the fact that I have a 13-year-old who can communicate those needs to me because we got incredibly lucky and we worked really hard. Those two things together. So part of the reason, while I'm not an expert, the reason why I'm here and why it's so important for me to be here and have the conversation is that I hope that you get to be as lucky as I am, and I want to hook you up with as many resources as I can so that you get to be as lucky as I am and more lucky, who knows. And I hope to inspire you to be able to do the hard work, because that's what it takes. It takes hard work, and a lot of hard work and consistency on everybody, on your child, on you. You know, if you're a teacher, it takes a village, right? So in any case, that's what I'm doing here, and I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. I know when I meet you guys at conferences and stuff, you tell me that you like it when we say that we can do this if we hold hands, and si se puede, right? We can do this, and we will. All right, so having said all that, participate, write in, talk to us, but don't forget that I'm not the expert. I just care really deeply. All right, we like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out, what are they talking about when they say these things? What does this have to do with me? And how does this help me get to progress? So today we are talking about the term FAPE. Now, this is when I call this going down the alphabet rabbit hole, especially when you're around a school system and you're talking to teachers, and I'm a former teacher, right? But even as a teacher, I hated this part of teaching. They shorten everything into these acronyms, and they throw them around like everybody came out of the womb understanding them. It's a dark black hole if you don't understand them. But this one is like the top of the list of the most important to understand. People will say, oh, well, what was your offer of FAPE? Well, they offered you FAPE. They gave you FAPE. Well, you didn't agree with their offer of FAPE. You'll hear that kind of thing all the time. FAPE, F-A-P-E, which let's take a look at our actual definition here. FAPE stands for free, appropriate, public education. It's a term that is frequently referred to in IEPs. When you go to an IEP, see, we're further down the alphabet jargon hole, right? IEP is an individualized education plan or program. It is what your child is entitled to, or you are entitled to, if there is a diagnosis of autism. There are other things that qualify, and in different states there are different headings that qualify for an IEP, but if you have a diagnosis of autism, you are automatically qualified to have an IEP, and this means that a group of people get around a table. These are the teachers and the administrators from the school, and the individual who is on the spectrum is entitled to be there if it is appropriate and if they choose to be there. And the guardian or parent is entitled to be there as well, and to bring as many guests and experts as they would like to bring. There will be times that they will tell you, oh, we can't fit that many people in the conference room. Sorry, that's not legal. You get to bring as many people as you want to bring. And that's the name of that tune, right? But you will sit down and you come to, there are recommendations made on both sides, right? And you come to a legal document that eventually, if everybody can come to an agreement, you sign, and that becomes the IEP, the Individualized Education Plan. And it is a legally binding document that governs what happens, what goals this individual is working towards, how the goals are worked on, who keeps track of whether they're making progress, and how we count that progress. It includes all of that, right? If there is a behavior intervention plan, it's included in the IEP, and then people are legally bound to follow the behavior intervention plan. And all of these things are super duper important. right? And people have worked really hard to make sure that there is a framework, maybe it's not perfect, but that there's a framework for educators and for parents and for students in which we can come to an agreement about how we are going to give FAPE. And FAPE is the free, appropriate public education. Let's move on to our working definition here. Because FAPE is what your child is legally entitled to in the United States. And if you are a person who is in the school system K through 12 and you have an autism spectrum diagnosis, and again, there are other things that qualify as well, but autism is one of them, you are entitled to, legally, a free, appropriate public education. Now, there was a time, my friends, when this was not the case. There was a time when children who had different needs, the school would just say, they can't go here. A public school would say to a parent, your child cannot be here. Your child must go somewhere else. And it wasn't incumbent upon them to figure out where your child went. This is something that's been discussed actually quite a bit in this year's political campaign here in the United States, because it's one of the things that Secretary Clinton is on her resume, that when she got out of law school, one of the first things that she did was, I don't remember whether it was Georgia or which state it was in, that she, or Oklahoma, I should know this, but she went door to door to find these children who were not attending public school. And to try to help parents to be able to get an education for their children. But we legally now have this system that is very clear that every single child in the United States is entitled to a free, appropriate public education. Now, when I heard about this as a parent, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, because I didn't know what we were going to do and didn't have a fund to send my child to a special school. And I got excited about the word free. Oh my gosh, so we're going to get this for free. And what I quickly found out is that the important word in the whole structure is appropriate. And this is where we have battles about what is appropriate. Now, in IDEA, which is the law that we have that allows for the free, appropriate public education, we talked about this briefly yesterday with Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson. We are entitled, all of us, to a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment, which means if your child can be in a typical classroom and not be a danger to themselves or anyone else, and there's the next part of it, so the least restrictive environment in which allows our child a floor of opportunity in which to access the curriculum. Okay, so a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment in which allows our child a floor of opportunity in which to access the curriculum. So these are where we have our legal battles over. This is where we figure out whether the child needs to be in a special day classroom or whether the child is fully included or whether they're included with supports. And I personally, I understand that there are cases in which we have children that it is not to their benefit to be in a typical classroom. It has taken me a lot of years to get to the point where I'm like, okay, there are cases. There are cases where that's not what's appropriate for the child on the spectrum or the child with a different disability, particularly if sensory issues are so overwhelming to them that they would hurt themselves or hurt someone else. That doesn't mean that we put them away in a classroom and forget about them and say they will never be in a typical classroom. And what I find so much of the time in the public school system here in the United States is that people have gotten comfortable with the idea of, oh, we have special day classrooms and we have our typical classrooms, and they don't really see how those things work together. And it's a, as they say, it's a hill I'd like to die on, trying to figure out how we can make that happen. We feature on this program so many times anytime we find a school where they're getting it done, we try to have them here with us or via Skype so that they can talk about how they're doing it. I particularly want to point out that they're doing this in the Bay Area here in California with particular vigor, and that there's one school in particular that I always point to when parents go, well, I don't really know how inclusion works. I always go, take a look at Hope Tech. And if you haven't Google and watch some of the interviews that we've done here on the show, they're getting it done. And let me also say that they're getting it done in a way that it so greatly benefits the student who has the IEP, but it also benefits the rest of the class. My heart is filled this week because I have seen a couple of instances in which people get it and participate in inclusion in a way that I go, okay, we're getting there. And then, somebody will say or do something and I go, all right, we still have a whole lot of work to do. But in particular, and this goes along with what we're going to be talking about later on in the show, just a week ago today, it was my birthday, and for my birthday, I got to go to the invited dress for a show called The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And we're going to have the director here in just a little while of that show because it meant so much to me that I wrote a blog about it. It meant so much to me because we got to see inclusion on this stage in a way that I have not seen before. And I've seen a fair amount of theater. I have a master's degree in theater, and I had not seen this level of inclusion before. Made my heart happy. I hope we have a little bit of time to talk about later on in the show. This political season is really heating up, and if you missed it yesterday, there was a speech that was given by one of the candidates that I thought demonstrated inclusion, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to talk about that. And if you missed it, I really want to encourage you. It was about inclusive economy, because we talk all the time about work and the workforce, and I thought this was a particularly interesting thing to hear at this point in the campaign. I'm talking about Secretary Clinton gave a speech yesterday. I think it's worth looking at. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. But in any case, if we don't get to inclusion, and for a lot of our kids, we're not being of service to them. If you're at a school where they're talking about taking all the kids with autism and putting them in a separate classroom, my question is, how are we working on social skills? How if we were to take any other group and say, oh, we're going to segregate them and we're going to put them over there, I personally think that the Teamsters would scream bloody murder. I don't think that's what we need for our kids with autism. Yes, there are exceptions. There are kids who literally being in a classroom with a whole bunch of people wearing a whole bunch of clothing, talking and moving and the lights flickering, to them it's torture. And for those kids, I think we need to have them in a separate classroom. But in that classroom, we need to be working on helping them to deal with sensory overload so that they can come to the classroom at some point. And anything less to me is giving up. So in any case, I want you to know what is afforded to you: a free, appropriate public education. And this is where we can shine or we can fall down if we don't fight for our students who have special needs, and for us, because we're talking about autism, that we must fight for them. There is a misconception right now in the education system which thinks that segregating our kids is the gift for everyone. I'm sorry, I disagree wholeheartedly, and would love to have that debate with anyone. In any case, moving on. FAPE, it's important. All right, we always have a question of the day, and our question to you today, think about this. What do you, or what does your child need to succeed? What would it take? I'm going to go back to the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and we're going to talk about this, but the lead actor is a deaf actor, and he's on stage. And, he needed some accommodations in order to succeed, but he succeeds in such a way that it pulls your heart out, right? It is amazing. It is amazing performance that he does. But some accommodations had to be made. I think about my son, who is in typical gen ed junior high, but he still needs some accommodations. He needs someone to help him with executive functions so that because if I just say to him, what do you have due for homework tomorrow? He's not going to have the ability to communicate to me what it is that he needs to do so that I can check and see that he did it right. He can write it down himself and he can do the assignment, but there's no way for me to be able to know, did we get it right? So we have to have some help with executive functions. That's all it takes for him to be an A student. That's all it takes for him to be an A student with his neurotypical peers. And when I think about if we hadn't fought for him to have that, where he would be, it makes me want to cry. And it also makes me think, what do you need to succeed? What would it take? What little thing could we do to help you to succeed? And what little thing can we do for your child to succeed? It's worth looking at. It's worth doing. So write in and tell us, what do you or your child need to succeed? All right, we always have a topic for the week, and our topic this week, I kind of love this, is doing what it takes. First, we have to identify what would it take. We got to look at it pragmatically, right, and go, okay, so what would it take to be able to do this? And really, both the guests that we have today, we're going to be talking about, all right, so what's it going to take, and the fact that they've both been doing that and making that happen. On today's show, we've got an interview first coming up with Broadway director Glenn Casale. And I have to say, Glenn is one of my favorite people on the face of the earth. I've known him for over 30 years, and he's the director of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I'm not saying that I love it because I've known Glenn for 30 years. I think I've known Glenn for 30 years because he does things like this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? But he's an amazing director. He's somebody who tells great stories, and he just happens to be telling this story in a way that has moved me. So moved me. And then a little bit later in the second hour, of course, we're going to have a mindfulness moment for you because it's Thursday. And I hope we have enough time to talk about the inclusive economy speech that Secretary Clinton did yesterday. But in the second hour today, we are going to have a young man that we've had on the show before, Kobe Bird. He is 15. Is he 15? I think he's 15. He's either 14 or 15 years old. And he wants to be a Broadway actor. That's what he wants to do. And we've had him on before. He's actually sung before on the show. He's been involved with the Miracle Project with Coach Elaine Hall. And we had him on when they were doing the Intimidation Game, and he sang a little bit from that musical. And Kobe this summer had an opportunity to participate in something called Broadway Dreams. It's a camp that they do around the country, and they have Broadway performers who come and do the camp, an intensive camp. I think it's just a week. We'll ask Kobe. With high school students all around the country. And Kobe this summer participated, and I understand that he was one of the first students to do this who is on the autism spectrum. And Kobe tore it up. He just tore it up. So much so that at the end of every summer season, Broadway Dreams invites a few of the superstars from around the country. And Kobe was one of the chosen few, and he's been asked to come to New York to participate in a showcase for Broadway Dreams in New York City. So Kobe's going to be here talking about his Broadway dream and about how you can help him to achieve that. So that's going to be a little bit later on in the show. But first, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, my good friend Glenn Casale is going to talk about how the Hunchback of Notre Dame came into being. Stick with us. Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm really excited because I have with me here in the studio someone that I've known, we were just talking about this, maybe for 30 years, and I'm impressed to be able to say that because he's pretty remarkable. We're talking about Glenn Cassell. I've said it 38 times before we do this. No pressure, because I've known you for 30 years, right? And Glenn is the director of a new show, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which you guys have heard me talking about for the last couple of days, and I've been waxing poetic about how much I loved it.
Thank you.
Glenn is an amazing director who has done so many things. He's a Broadway director. You guys probably know him as the director of the Peter Pan that was Kathy Rigby on Broadway, which blew all of our socks off. But you have been directing literally all over the world for the last, 20, 30 years. A lot of people look at you and say that you were the guy that Disney calls to come in when something maybe hasn't worked out quite the way they wanted it to, and you sort of reinvent the show for them. You did that with Little Mermaid and have directed how many countries have you directed Little Mermaid in?
9.
9 countries. And in different languages.
All different languages.
Which we have to talk about how you do that, because that hurts my head to even think about. And you've directed Beauty and the
Beauty
Beast.
and the Beast.
How many places?
13.
Oh my goodness. And so many other things, way too many things to mention, but some of my favorites. I loved when you directed the musical Bingo.
Oh, they're doing a revival of that. I'm in New York at Studio 54, Feinstein Below.
I loved that. Still think about that. So I laughed at one moment in that harder than I think I've ever laughed in any live show ever before. I embarrassed myself and thought they were going to take me out of the theater and I bet you know which moment that I'm talking about. Where somebody is leaving and they continue singing. I laughed until I coughed.
Outside.
Yes, no, I made a fool of myself because I laughed so hard and so long. So it's one of those moments you never forget. And I got to see your Peter Pan twice live, and they were both pivotal moments for me. See, I'm going to get emotional, but and now I've gone to see The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Notre Dame. How are you? Notre Dame. And from me as an autism mom, it was a huge, big deal. I came with my son and my husband, and it meant so very much to me. So I want to talk a little bit about this, and then we can talk about the other stuff. But this particular production is different than, this has been done 3 times before, this musical, right? Only 3 times before, based on, the music is from the movie, the Disney movie.
And extra music, yeah.
And extra music. And maybe not the most popular Disney movie that ever came out. People either loved it or were kind of about it. I thought that it was a really beautiful movie, but I'm amazed at seeing the stage production of it, how much more it meant to me, and I think perhaps because of the choices that you made.
Yes, and I also think it's Victor Hugo's novel. If you go back to Victor Hugo's novel, it's layered with stuff, and it's just... That's the kind of thing you can do on stage. I mean, it's relevant today.
Yes.
There's, the whole reference of treating somebody who's not like you badly, and the whole thing about people looking for refuge because they're thrown out of their city, very much like today. Yes. Where do we find a country that allow us to stay? The gypsies. Yes. And Hugo wrote it in the 1800s, but it takes place in 1483, and it has a lot of the French Revolution aspects to it. So if you go back to that novel, it's all there. All the thoughts are there. All the ideas are there.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about it.
Well, and one of the things I know about you is you're a brilliant storyteller.
Oh, thanks.
You really are, and you make it accessible for everyone. We've been talking about you. I don't know if your ears have been burning for the last week. Everybody that I know, we've been talking about you, and everybody's been saying wonderful things about you behind your back. No, because there is something about you. You have a kid inside you that you delight in things. That's one of the things that people have been saying. I was mentioning the other day that my mother always said about you that you were charm on legs.
Oh.
But there is I think that there is a wonderment in you that it doesn't surprise me that you create these rich stories on stage that the adults delight in, we lose ourselves in, and that the kids are right there and not only in it, but learning from it. It is that wonderment.
I think it also comes from having the job I have that's so lucky to be able to do what I love since I was 18. And, you know, it's just going into every day and just creating and making a difference. We did cabaret this summer. Cabaret is so right on about the elections this year. And it was, you know, you're in a time where you can use theater to change people's minds, change people's thoughts,
Yes.
change people's idea. I have a Peter Pan running now in Tuacahn in Utah, and there's a transgender person in the lead of Peter Pan.
Glenn, you're just shaking it all up.
Shake it up, shake it up.
And really changing the world. And so let's talk a little bit about Hunchback, though, because you made a distinctive choice with this. And I'm glad to hear that you know, are also taking on the transgender thing as well. As I was sitting watching the Emmys the other night, and they were talking about how there needs to be more people who are casting transgender. And of course, as an autism mom, I was sitting there thinking, why not people of all abilities as well? Why are we not including this? But see, Glenn's already doing that. Glenn's already set the standard very high. So talk a little bit about the choice that you made with Hunchback to have a deaf actor.
I did a reading of a musical called Brindlebeast about 2 years ago, and I met this actor, John McGinty. It was about a woman who was non-hearing who fell in love with a hearing boy musical. And John did the reading for us, and then we were casting this summer for Sacramento, and he called and said, I'd like to come in and audition for Hunchback. I was like, okay, well, let's try it out. Not only did he come in, but Ali Stoker came in. She was in the last F West production of Spring Awakening. She was in a wheelchair. She came in for Seussical. So it was quite an audition period, but John's audition was like I've never seen. He took control of the room. He just made us believe what he was doing like nobody else. So then we set a task going, okay, now how do we make this work in the round in 9 days?
Right.
Because that's all we have in Sacramento is 9 days.
And so we should tell people, so first you were mounting this at the Sacramento Music Circus.
Which is in the round.
And then you knew that you were going to take it from there and bring it to La Mirada, where it would be done in a proscenium theater, so that you were going to stage it once in 9 days.
9 days.
And then you had 10 days to restage it with some casting changes.
Yeah.
Amazing. I don't know how you do that at all.
Yeah.
But what were some of the considerations starting within the round in order to accommodate an actor who is deaf?
Interpreters. We had 3 in Sacramento because of the round. And one had to always be with John, one had to always be with me, and one kind of circled around and could be wherever he needed to be. But, you know, I think it was no different for me than working in different languages. Because when I'm in Moscow, I have an interpreter. When I'm in Spain, I have an interpreter. Germany, I don't speak any of those languages. So, and sometimes the whole cast doesn't speak English.
Right.
So you have to really just be able to communicate feelings, ideas, thoughts. John and I shared a lot of what internally is going on as well as emotionally, and you know, you can work on the level. He's from Steppenwolf, so he's got all that training.
Amazing training. We have a picture of you working with John during the show, if Samantha can bring that up.
Yeah.
That it's just, you know.
And his interpreter, Tracy, she was terrific and got us through the whole thing. And we brought somebody in, like another language, like when we do Beauty and the Beast overseas, we have interpreters from each country come in and redo it into their own language. So we had an interpreter come in and teach all the sign for the last song of the show.
Yeah.
She created that language.
Amazing. Amazing. And so what you end up with, we saw the show last Thursday, and what I saw on stage was something amazing, really amazing. And if you guys look on our blog, I wrote about it because I was so moved by it. You know, I feel like I haven't seen enough theater in life, but I've gotten to see a few things. And there is something special that happens when the cast knows, great picture there. This duo, these 2 young men, blew my doors off.
Yeah.
But it was bigger than that because you had a feeling that you were at something special, and that the cast knew that they were doing something special, that a wall was being kicked down, and that it was bigger than all of us. I said at one point it was so big it like ran off the stage into the theater and out the doors and into the street. It was that big.
And it's been like that from day one. I mean, everybody's been committed to it. We had to look at it and look at the piece. I read that signing wasn't allowed in the 1400s. So the only people that could sign to him was his imaginary gargoyle friends. So that established this relationship that I could break the wall of whatever I want to do with that other character, and how they could sing for him and how they could motivate him. And then when Frollo comes in, he does no signing with Frollo.
Right. And so for those of you who haven't seen it yet, so the gargoyles are there. When John, the actor who plays Quasimodo,
McGinty.
he speaks in his own voice.
The whole show.
But then when he sings, when it goes to that heightened, one of the gargoyles sings for him. And that young man, Dino, I can't
No,
remember.
Candace.
I said to you during the intermission, it's one of the most selfless performances I've ever seen. He gives himself wholeheartedly to singing that for him. It's a lovely performance.
Yeah, and we had a different person in Sacramento, also Jim Hogan, extremely gifted, extremely committed to it, and I think he couldn't go on. He got Phantom the tour, so he couldn't go on with us. But Dino was, he was there with us all summer, Dino, so he saw it from the beginning as we were creating it.
He took my breath away. I mean, both of them did, I have to say honestly, but I was so moved by what he did on so many levels.
And the music is so good. It's Alan
Yes.
Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who wrote
Yes.
Wicked and Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid. The first time the two of them have collaborated.
Amazing.
And that choir of 30 just helps elevate everything.
Absolutely. The whole cast, I mean, what you have created. But I think this is true of all of your shows, Glenn, quite honestly, that you create an atmosphere where everybody is at their best, and that they bring their best. Nothing gets left undone. Everybody brings it, and certainly John McGinty, there's nothing left at the end of that performance. He has brought it all. It was so moving to see him as a performer be able to have this tour de force and to be supported. You know, last week on the show we had some filmmakers. They're making a documentary about the gentleman with autism who invented the ribbon mic, has reinvented the ribbon mic, and the documentary covers how everybody in his life had to be there to support him in order for him to be able to do what he did, which has changed our world. And I had just come fresh from that and sat in the theater and watched all of these people who saw that John could do this, that you saw that he could do it, that the other actors saw that he could do it, and no one poo-pooed, no one apologized. It was that much better because it was John.
Yeah, and we learned a lot of that as we were going. The signing wasn't in the beginning. When we first started, I wasn't going to sign much at all. I was just going to have John talk and Jim sing or Dino sing, and that was it. And then all of a sudden, we started seeing in rehearsal how beautiful the signing is, and how, I could create this language of its own for John. It helps in the cueing, it helps in everything. And it helps him communicate with people on stage.
Absolutely.
And when he looks across stage and they're signing to him, he's connected.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Because he can't read
connected.
their lips that far.
Yeah. And you made a choice that we would see him become Quasimodo. Why did you make that choice?
Well, it was written in the script that the congregant becomes Quasimodo. It's just how you do it is different, a little different. And I wanted you to see who he was, that the inside was beautiful and full, and then he became this. But in the inside, and at the end, I go back to it.
Yes.
So that we go back to that there's a man in there.
Yes.
So that's what I wanted to do. And I also made the ending more positive than it is, and hopeful and uplifting. It doesn't feel down at the end,
No,
because
not
it
at
has
all.
the last scene, which is great.
It's so powerful. We don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But you know, this is something that you have done, my understanding is with all the Disney shows that you have done, that you have made sure to, you know, there's the wonderful Disney thing that we all think of, that it's all fairy tale princesses and everything. But when you tell the story, you make sure that the grit is there too, because our kids have to deal with real crap in life.
Little Mermaider, she's an outsider. She doesn't fit in. She doesn't like her sisters. She feels she's different, completely different. That's why Little Mermaid speaks to the transgender community so heavily. The book, the Hans Christian Andersen, again, if you go back to that book, there's a lot more in there than, and that's what I try to infuse. What's the source material? The source material of Beauty and the Beast, that novel. We got to do it in Paris. That book is sitting in the library in Paris.
That's amazing to think about, isn't it?
It was fantastic.
But and as we sat there and watched Hunchback, and there's a really painful scene where he gets bullied. And I was so grateful for it, Glenn, because as I was sitting there with my 13-year-old who's on the spectrum, who I know has been bullied, he needs reference points. He needs to be able to see these things to enable him to access the emotion of it for himself, to understand the context in which these things happen. He needs to be able to see that other people have feelings about it, that he's not alone.
And that people come to his defense. She is selfless in that, coming to his defense. She doesn't care about herself. She just stops it all. And she's new to Paris that day.
Yeah. And this idea of what is a friend, what is somebody who shows up for you, which he got to see. I just am so glad that you bring all of it to the show, so that kids, I think a lot of times people think that kids need to just have happy candy fairy, you know, with nothing underneath. And that's never the way it was. I mean, if you read Grimm's fairy tales, you know, they made sure, because the lesson is there about what to be afraid of and what to celebrate.
And that's with all these Disney musicals, and most time, there's a lesson. There's a lesson here. There's a lot of lessons here. There's a lot of lessons of how to behave. There's a lot of lessons of what your spirituality is. There's a lot of lessons about relationships. I mean, there's lessons all the way down the line.
Absolutely.
You know, and you also see Frollo having his conflict with it all.
Yes. Which, you know, there was, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but there's some wonderful, funny moments in the show. You know, and I know this about you too. You take us to a fever pitch where we're having all these emotions, and then you get us with something funny, that, you know, which releases it all. You're very clever and smart about that always. And there are some really intense moments in the show, but you take good care of us, and you take good care of our kids, which is fabulous. We should show a clip. We're going to show a clip that's a series of little small clips when you did this in the round, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more. But take a look at The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and this was done at the Sacramento Music Circus.
I who keep you, feed you, teach you, dress you. I who look upon you without fear. How can I protect you, boy, unless you always stay in here? Today we do the things that we did for on the hour 364. Once a year we love to drop, and where the beer is never stopping, for the chance to pop some hop and share.
So you can see the dates there, that it's now playing at La Mirada. You must get tickets. If you are anywhere in the area, you must go and see this, because it is truly amazing, and I think that it's life-changing, and I really want to encourage everyone to bring their kids. And I want to encourage you to bring your kids that are neurotypical, so that they can, you know, enjoy the show and see all the things and learn all the lessons. And I want you to bring your kids who are on the autism spectrum to see it as well. My son thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't tell you this, but after we talked to you briefly during the intermission, and then you had walked away to go do some other things, and he said to me, he said, you know, Mom, we should start a drama club.
Oh.
And I said, oh, well, we know a lot of people that do, he's done things before with Coach Elaine Hall from the Miracle Project. And I said, Coach E is always saying to you, and we know the people who do Spectrum Labs, and, we know all these people, any one of those things that he goes, no, I think we should start our own drama club. And I was like, where is this coming from? But you always inspire my kid, Glenn. You always.
I'm glad.
I've said before on the show that when we came years and years and years ago, when I came to see Peter Pan, and I was single and in my mid to late 30s and thinking I was never ever ever going to have kids, and I sat in the audience and Kathy Rigby flew out over us, and I was a kid again. And I remember sitting there in the audience and thinking, this is like one of the most amazing things I've seen in my life. The only thing that would be better is to watch this with my child. And I had no child, had no hopes of having a child, and then like 7-8 years later, you did a revival of it and invited us to come and bring my child on the spectrum, just starting to talk again. My kid, who before autism came to live with us, sang all the time. Everything was a microphone and he sang always, and then autism came, no singing. And we had worked on, the talking was happening again, but the singing was gone, and I thought it was gone forever. But his favorite thing always, before autism, through autism, everything was Peter Pan. Oh. We watched that A&E, because that's, if you ever watch the A&E, the DVD, or that's Glenn's Peter Pan. And we watched that over and over. If he was sick, that was what he wanted, was to watch Peter Pan. If he was well, that's what he wanted. The first time the therapist got him to make eye contact, they were playing Swords Peter Pan with him. So you've had a big, all throughout everything that we've done. But so we bring him finally to see the show. And oh my gosh, it was such a, great moment for me. I'm like, oh, I'm here. I was here and I wished for a kid, and I'm here with the kid. This is amazing. You brought us backstage afterwards. We have a great picture of our son with Kathy. And the next morning, I'm upstairs and I'm doing something, and I hear out of his bedroom, my kid is singing Zippity-Doo-Dah. And I didn't even know he knew that song, but he's in there singing Zippity-Doo-Dah. It was the first time he sang.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and now he sings all the time. He's been in plays. He has done that, and it's all you.
Oh.
It's all you. So I encourage you, bring your kids. Your kids will be inspired, and it's important for our kids to see. First of all, to see incredible role models, people who have different abilities, not less than, but different abilities. Every single one of our kids should see John McGinty on this stage, doing what he does, and see all the performers that are supporting him, and what the sum total of that is.
And it's different, but it's also the same. John went through the same process as everybody else, tirelessly, through the whole thing. And it's harder for him, but the same process.
Yes.
Same questions.
Yes.
Same ideas. Same wanting to be so good.
Yes.
It's all
that. But it's, sometimes when you see people perform, and all I can say is, when they put their whole back into it, you know what I mean? And he gives this performance that is, but Dino's right there with him and giving it to him in shovelful. Honestly, I wanted to kiss him. The autism mother in me wanted to kiss Dino and say, thank you, because you made that richer and deeper, and so that we got to see John fully.
Well, they both go through the same beats.
Yeah.
They both go through the same beats.
Yes.
Which was interesting, finding that out.
And it's interesting to me that, that maybe what helped you to see this in so many different ways is that you've done it in so many different languages already, directing, which let's talk about that just ever so briefly. I'm keeping you longer than I said I would. But so when the first time that they said to you, you're going to direct something in a different language, what show was it?
Beauty and the Beast.
And what language?
Dutch.
And were you not a little bit like, oh man, what have I gotten myself into?
Yes, especially when I heard the language. I was like, okay, but...
Because Dutch is a little bit, right?
Yeah, but Martina Brill, she did the translation, and she translated it beautifully. And she would give me a back translation, and it was poetic the way she
Yeah.
wrote it.
Okay.
But I learned the language as I went. I learned what the sense of humor was in each country, because it's all different.
Yeah.
What makes people laugh in Spain is not the same in
Oh my
France, and not the same in Dutch, and not the same in Russian or Japan.
That hurts my head, Glenn. That hurts my head.
France, I went to the Comédie Française to see what they were doing.
Yeah.
They had a comedy. I thought, let me just go see what their sense of humor. Very dark, very real, very not
Right.
any of that slapstick stuff. Just
Interesting.
yeah. So I had to fix Beauty and the Beast that way for France.
Wow. Wow. What do you think has been the most challenging? What is there a particular language or a particular show or a particular country that
Russia, Moscow was challenging with both Beauty and Little Mermaid. Just the language and finding out what makes people tick. But again, same thing. If you touch into what connects a father and daughter,
Yeah.
what connects a woman who's taken a strong woman, Belle,
Yeah.
who's going to go save her father
Right.
and rescue her. It's interesting. That whole thing of how women take charge. It's not Disney princess like we used to know them.
No, but I love that about your shows. That it's richer, it's fuller, it's more grounded.
Yeah.
You're
Has to be.
remarkable. So
Thanks.
so Hunchback is there for a period of time, and I of course hope for you that Disney sees this and says, okay, we need to take it someplace else. I'm going to hope that for you.
Thank you.
Because I really think that everybody around the world should see this.
Thanks.
I think that John deserves that. I think the show deserves that the way that you've directed it, and the world deserves that to see that. And I don't in any way think that it's just autism parents, but I will tell you as an autism parent, it was a gift. It was a gift to us.
Thanks.
My son will never see the world in the same way. I kept thinking about how Whoopi Goldberg talked about how seeing Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek when she was a child, she came front-loaded with the knowledge that she could do whatever she wanted to because Lieutenant Uhura was one of the people in command of this starship. And I felt like you gave my son that. He saw this actor and there's nothing in his head that could ever hold him back, which is a huge, huge gift. And when I think about all the people who could really benefit from that gift,
Yeah.
so I hope Disney gives that to them. But what do
Thanks.
you have coming up on your horizon?
I'm going to do The Wizard of Oz in Philadelphia,
Nice.
and then I'm doing Man of La Mancha in Northridge
Oh, we love
in the
that
spring.
show.
And
Love
taking
that.
time off.
There you go. And we have to say, one of the reasons why I have known Glenn for so long, and you are one of my oldest and dearest friends, but even more fun is that you are now married to my oldest and really, we have to say, dearest friend of all time, that your husband, Brian, I have known him since we were in 7th grade art class together.
Wow.
And he, this is how far back Brian and I go back. He is my Elwood. He is my,
Oh.
when we did high school drama, he was Elwood and I was Vita Louise, which we have never forgotten. And he is one of the most amazing playwright,
Amazing
gifted
playwright.
writer.
Won the LA Drama Critics Award.
There you go. Truly amazing, and it makes my face hurt that you guys are married. You guys have been together forever and a year.
30 years.
But finally put a ring on it, which I'm really happy and excited for. And I wish my mother were alive to have seen that because she would have plotzed. My mother would have just absolutely loved that. So you have to give him a kiss for me because I haven't seen him in a while. And we look forward to hearing more about the things that you do and seeing the things that you do and hearing the stories that you tell and taking what you've learned from this, because I imagine this has opened your mind as well.
Yep. And saw that as possible. It scared me at first. 9 days to tackle this scared me.
Yeah.
But anything's possible.
But don't you think, in all honesty, that the show is so much better
Well worth
because
it.
of it?
Well worth it.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. Now we're sending a little bit later on in the show that you guys are seeing today. We're going to have a young man, an actor, a 15-year-old actor, who Kobe is, he's been very involved here with the Miracle Project here in Los Angeles, and he is getting ready. He just this summer did a camp called Broadway Dreams. You may have heard of it, where they bring Broadway actors and they work, and he was one of the first young actors on the autism spectrum to participate in this. And really killed it, and he's going to be talking with us about that, but he's been selected to go to New York to be part of and only a few people from around the country got chosen to do this. So Kobe is going to New York. This is his Broadway dream, right? 15 years old. And so because you invited us to the invited dress, we gave Kobe's family tickets to Hunchback.
Oh, nice.
He's coming to Hunchback next week, and his agent that he just booked with happens to be John McGinty's agent.
Oh.
And the agent had sent his mother a thing, said, "Do you know about this? Another one of my clients is in this. You must go see it." And the mom wrote back and said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, we already have tickets. We're going." So Kobe will get an opportunity to meet John McGinty.
Nice.
The agent made sure that would happen when he
Nice.
goes. So it's full circle.
Great.
We're really excited. And Kobe will be here in just a few minutes to talk about why this is so exciting to him. And I can't wait to hear afterwards when he goes to see the show.
Nice.
But everyone needs to bring their kids. Everybody needs to go see this. This is the kind of stuff that changes the world. So lamiradatheater.com. Thank you, Sam, for putting that up. We're going to go out and show you another little snippet from the show, and then we're going to be back with more Autism Live. But thank you, Glenn,
Thank
so
you.
much. Take a look at this.
It's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a dramatic and deeply moving new musical. From the creators of Wicked and Beauty and the Beast. Praised for its rich choral singing by the New York Times and intense emotion by Variety. Don't miss The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Jack, hi.
Hi.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Jack? Say, I'm playing. Or I'm watching.
What?
You're watching. Are you watching me? What's this?
No.
What's this? What are these? What are these, Jack?
Eyes.
What is this? Are you looking? Jack, Riley, what's this? What is it?
Nope.
Yeah? So Suzanne, we actually have 3 new programs in his logbook. They are actions, body parts, and categories.
I noticed there's a notebook with pictures of Ellie. Is that part of it?
Oh no, that's actually, it's something really cool. Did you want to see it?
Sure.
It's something that his mom made, I think, before he started talking. So what it is it's just things that are in his environment that his mom cleverly made, which is really cool. It has like different foods that he eats. And I guess she did her own kind of, can you point to the dog? What does it say? Kind of like her own kind of discrimination training, I guess, for him. Body parts. It's a really cute little book that she made. And he can label all of them, huh? What are these? What are these? Feet. What are these? Right here.
Toes.
Very good. All right, Jack. So we're going to be doing actions. We're matched on waving in a field of 2 with an unknown, just to see if he can discriminate between the 2. Give me waving. Good job. What is it?
Waving.
Waving. Very good. Good job, Jack Riley.
Jessica points at the correct answer after Jack Riley motions to the incorrect picture to ensure he answers correctly. This is called errorless learning. The reason we do this is that the more opportunities he has to practice the right behavior and be rewarded, the quicker he will learn it and succeed. It's positive reinforcement. Think of it like this. If you were constantly being told what you were doing was wrong and weren't offered help, you'd become frustrated and give up. But if you were assisted, you'd keep trying and eventually succeed independently.
Give me waving. Yay! What is it?
Waving.
Perfect. Very good. You got all your stickers. Now then what do you get?
12.
Perfect. Nice job. There you go. So the next one we're going to do is body part, and he is on mouth. So the SD is what is it, and we point to the body part on his own body, and he has to be able to label it. And he's been saying nose with me, because I guess it's close proximity, but let's see if you know it today, mister. What is it?
Nose.
Say mouth.
Mouth.
Good. What is it?
Mouth.
Very good. There you go. There's one sticker. Okay. Ready? Look at me.
Welcome.
Good job. Okay. What is it? Say mouth.
Mouth.
Good. What is it?
Mouth.
Nice job. Oops. Okay. Ready? One more sticker, okay? Okay. Hey, put your arms down, Rockstar. Thank you. What is it?
Mouth.
Yay! All right, high five. All right. You got your 3 stickers. There you go. What do you want?
Whoa.
Say, I want phone.
Go.
Good job. Here you go. And with the receptive labels that we've been working on with him, he knows so many labels now. What's that? Say bear.
Bear.
What is it? What is it? What's this?
Tackle.
What's this?
Fire.
What is this?
Nipple.
That we've moved into categories. We're having him give us the picture of the category and having him label it as whatever category pertains to, like the food. Give me food. I did, yeah. I say like 145. Where's the food? Good job. What is it?
Food.
Very good. Nice job. Give me food.
Soup. What? Food.
Okay, give me food. What is it?
Food.
Food. Good job.
Horse.
Okay. Oh, look, Jack Riley, look. Oh, I'm going in the garage. You want to go inside with me? Come on. Let's go inside. You want to go inside? Go inside. Whee! I'm here. Woo! Ready? There he goes. Say, let's go. All right.
Jessica and Jack Riley are playing together so he can practice how to appropriately play with toys.
Are you all done, cars? Or you want more?
Ada.
All done. Okay. All right. That's okay.
Ada. Block.
Okay. All done blocks too? Okay. All right. Here, Jack Riley. Let's go for a walk. Sit down. Okay. Ready to go for a walk?
Yes.
Okay. Say, let's go.
Welcome.
Say, let's go, Suzanne.
Welcome, Mr. Chen.
Okay. She will come with us.
Coming.
Say, come on, Mom.
Come on, Mom.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Last week during clinic, Cheryl and Mike brought up how outings had been difficult with Jack Riley not complying with stop or refusing to walk. Sabrina, their supervisor, suggested that they practice this skill with a therapist at least once a week until the problem behavior becomes better.
You can practice to spell off in the tree. Okay, let's go. Stop. Yay! Good job. Stop. Stop. Come back. Yay! Yay! Thank you. Let's go. This way. Stop, stop. What do you see? What do you see? Wow, we found a daddy on our walk.
And neighbors.
Welcome welcome back. You know what that's the perfect example of? And this is one of the reasons why I love the A word. We talk all the time about the whole idea of when somebody does something, whether it's a person on the spectrum or somebody who's not on the spectrum, when they do something that you like and you want to see more of, give them reinforcement for it, right? And so often we jump to a place in our head about, well, if they're doing something we don't want to see more of, then we want to tell them no, and we want to punish, and we want to like make it miserable. And we always talk here on the show about how, no, it's just a non-reaction, but it's really, really hard for us to get our heads wrapped around that, I think, because of how we've all been raised in this society of it's punitive, right? Everything, we send people to jail. And so we certainly aren't going to let a child do something and get away with it, right? Because they got away with it. Even the way I'm languaging it is part of how my brain has been socialized to think about it. But if you notice in the hallway when mom is going to help with this stop and go, it feels, when you're the parent and you're doing this kind of training, it feels like this is so important. We can't afford to take chances with this, right? And so your head wants to go to those punitive things, but she says to him, okay, go. And he wants to go. Go is very reinforcing for him, right? And she says, stop. And like he stops and they go, yay, right? And you can tell that the yay is meaningful to him. It's fun, right? So he stops and it's all fun and they say, come back. And he comes back and mom says, go. And he's excited to go again because this is all fun. They're paying attention and they love me and everything is wonderful and I'm having a good time. And so they say, stop. And he's like, yeah. And he keeps going and he's like, come on. So where's all the fun and the excitement, right? And no one does anything. No one does anything. There's just silence and they're in the hallway and nobody goes, no, that's not there. Watch it back again. That is not there. And the mom waits and she says, come back. And the come back is very neutral. It's not, no, come back. It's just come back. And so he comes back and it's a little less fun than it was before, but he's not miserable. Nobody is torturing this little boy. Right? There's a non-reaction and she says, go. And so he goes, he's like, okay, the fun is happening again. She says, stop. And he stops immediately and they go, yay. And this is how he learns what stop is. Stop means stop. Stop doesn't mean stop and wander around and, and clearly what he wanted, you can tell that he's like, did I get the reaction I wanted? Oh, I did. Yes. Yay. And that's how we know, A, that reinforcer is working because he was looking for it and working for it and he changed his behavior for it. And he's happy. He's a happy little so-and-so. And if you watch the series, he learns over a period of time, and they're, later they take him out on the grass and he wants the grass in it and he wants it so bad he wants to bite his mother to get onto the grass. And the therapist talks to them about the non-reactions, about blocking so that he can't bite. But I really wanted to bring that home about that non-reaction. There's nope, I know that there's one particular strategy that they use sometimes with our kids that's a no prompt, which is, they do something and we say no, and then they do something and we say nope, and then we prompt them to do it. That's a very specific thing that's used for very specific times. But this non-reaction versus the party reaction, boy, that's the joy of ABA and getting it done. And when you've got the right reinforcer, it works. It's a fabulous thing. Okay, so I'm very excited. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Glenn. And in just a few minutes, we have an interview coming up with Kobe Bird, that young man that I was talking about. But first, we wanted to take a minute for our mindfulness moment on a Thursday. And today's mindfulness moment is about gratitude. So often we talk to you guys about the power of taking 3 deep inhales and 3 deep exhales. That so often when we think about mindfulness and meditation, we picture having to be in a specific room that has nothing going on sensory, and we're all dressed in white and we're flexible and sitting in a yoga position, full lotus or whatever it is that you have going on in your mind, and that, we've somehow attained this ability to be able to meditate for hours on end. And, in truth, All that's wonderful, but it's not available to all of us every day, right? Whereas 3 deep breaths is available to all of us at any moment on any given day, even when we have a child who's on the autism spectrum who is in their worst meltdown ever. We have access to 3 deep inhales that we can, right? We can do that at any given moment. And I always advocate that we do that after we get our children strapped into the car, that we take that moment to do the 3 deep inhales. And when we model that behavior, we give that to our kids. Well, some of you have written in and said even the 3 breaths is hard, because even with the 3 breaths, you're thinking about everything that you have to do, everything that hasn't happened, everything that might happen, and you're constricted, your chest is tight, you can't get the full deep breath. So we also talk about gratitude on the show, and one of the things that you can do that's a meditative process is that it's that replacement behavior that we talk about with our kids on the spectrum. If there is a behavior that they keep perseverating on, we give a replacement behavior. And if your brain, even when you're taking your 3 deep breaths, keeps perseverating on all the thoughts that are causing you to feel the stress, we have to give your brain a replacement behavior. And the quickest, easiest, freest thing in the world to do that works as a replacement behavior for that is making a list of things that we're grateful for, right? So if you're taking 3 deep breaths on each inhale, you can be thinking about what you're grateful for. So you take the deep inhale and you say, I'm grateful that I can breathe, right? And you take the deep breath, and as you exhale, you say, thank you for allowing me to breathe. And you can say thank you to whatever you happen to believe in, or just thank the universe. Thank you for the breath, right? You can thank the breath, right? So be grateful on the inhale and be thankful for it on the way out. Be grateful and thankful. 3 of those. And honestly, you can do as many as you want to, but 3 structured breaths with 3 things that you're grateful for can change the entire day. It can help you to be present and in this moment, because it's that awareness that we talk about on the show all the time, that there's a lot of stuff happening right now. And what we choose to focus on this moment ends up being what we walk around with. So I can choose to focus on things that make me miserable, that are real and happening. It's not that I'm inventing them, that there are things that are going on that are stress causing and upsetting. And if those are the things that I notice are happening right now, then I'm going to feel that stress. I can, try to completely convince myself and lie to myself that that's not happening and be in denial. I've tried that. I don't know about you, right? Or I can try to numb myself to everything through any kind of addiction that anybody has, whether it's, overeating or smoking or abusing drugs or alcohol, right? Or, just being on my phone. I think that's my current drug of choice, right? To forget about everything and de-stress, which isn't a bad thing for a few minutes, right? It's when we do it over and over and over again that it becomes a problem. But the truth of the matter is that all that does is postpone stuff. It doesn't really make it go away, and it doesn't really help us get to the core of the stress. Whereas when we take a moment, and we're not negating that there are things that are happening in the world that are tough, right? Those things are real. But if we think about what else is real too, there's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to be thankful for. And 3 moments of awareness of the fact that I've got at least 3 things going for me. And you might in this moment think, I don't have 3 things. I guarantee you that you do, because in this moment in time, you are able to hear or see. Otherwise, this would be meaningless to you, right? So you have one of those senses going for you, and we all need to, if we have both of them, man, do we need to be grateful for that. If you have the ability to breathe, if you are alive and have a pulse, that's something to be grateful for, right? But I also believe that somebody cares deeply about you, somebody loves you, right? endless list of things that you can be grateful for. I was raised by a woman who was born clubfoot, both feet facing backwards, and never took an easy step in her life. And she would remind me whenever I was like, oh, woe is me, she would say, you have 2 feet that match and you have the ability to move them in any direction you want to. Be grateful. Be grateful. So we all have things to be grateful for, things that we probably take for granted. I remember seeing a speaker, Reverend Beckwith, once. I saw him speak, and he said, whatever it is that's kicking your can right now, I would bet you that there is somebody that is their deepest wish. And I was shamed and humbled by the fact that I had shown up being like, oh, I got to go home after this and I have all these dishes to do. And he used the example and said, you know, you may have a sink full of dishes right now that's kicking your keister, but there is a homeless person somewhere who wishes that they had dishes because it would mean that they had eaten and that there was a roof over their head. Oh yeah, no, I was like, well, yes, humbled to think about how grateful I was to have dirty dishes. Woohoo to dirty dishes. So 3 deep breaths. On the inhale, you're thinking about what it is that you're grateful for. On the exhale, you're saying thank you for it. And if you want to continue doing that for longer, great. But 3 is a great start. All of us have time to do 3 of those. That's our mindfulness moment for this week. And now we're going to take a break and we're going to bring the wonderful Kobe Bird in here, 14 years old. And he is off to go to Broadway in a couple of weeks with your help and with my help. And we're going to find out how we can do that. Stick with us.
I am Alexis Weinman at the Future Horizons Super Conference in Dallas, Texas. It helped me in a way because it was a format that I was not used to. Like, I had never curled my hair before. I've never worn heels. I didn't know what foundation was. And it was just, it was very, like, it helped me more in a business sense. Like, I know how to present myself in front of people now. That's something my mom drilled into my head. I have trouble sometimes with it. Like, you introduced yourself to me downstairs, and so I immediately and I've heard of you before, so I was like, I know this person, I can make eye contact with this person. And if I'm talking to someone I don't know, or if I'm listening to someone give a speech, most of the time my head will be down. I don't look at people in the eye, but if it's someone I know I need to make eye contact with, I make eye contact. But my mom growing up, she especially after the diagnosis, she would always grab my hand if I was looking everywhere else but her, and she'd say, look me in the eye. And so she wouldn't let go of my hand until I looked her in the eye. I do feel like I have to do play poet because, sometimes there'll be jokes I don't understand, but I'll laugh at anyway. There will be situations that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm gonna have to play along anyway. And I think I just found out I'm just a tremendously amazing liar. I can pretend like I'm uncomfortable with something when in actuality I am screaming inside, or I know the moment I get back to my dorm room I'm going to start screaming or having a meltdown or something like that. But I also know that there is a time and a place because there isn't any safe rooms available in neurotypical society. We have to make our own. And, on a college campus, there's not many places you can go and scream without attracting attention. The way I explain it to people is, people's brains are like hamster wheels. Eventually, the hamster's got to take a break. Autistic brains aren't like that. They just keep going and going and going. So we can't stop thinking about things. That's why a lot of kids with autism have sleep problems, because they can't fall asleep because they have too much on their brain. They can't sleep because they're thinking too much. And I think just the walking in circles, there's no thought to a circle. It's just, so I'll just plug in my earphones so I can't hear anything else except whatever white noise I'm listening to, and I'll just walk in a circle. I think it's just we are just as prevalent as men with autism. There might not be as many as there are boys, but we are still part of this movement. We're still part of this community, and we just got to remind people that, hey, you know, we're here too, you know, don't forget about us. One thing I've learned is that, first off, I'm not the only person who is speaking from their own perspective. Like, I feel like I go to some of these conferences and it's a bunch of doctors and a bunch of parents who want to talk and get to know what autism is about, but there's not a lot of people on the spectrum talking about it. And so I come to these and I see Temple Grandin, who's one of the biggest faces in the autism community, actually get up and talk about what helped her and what we need to do in order to get our kids out of society and not in our parents' basements. And so it's just kind of reaffirming, like, I'm not the only one. Thank you. Because I'd go to these and I would be the only one. I'd be next to a bunch of doctors and talking about words I have not even seen before, let alone pronounce. And I'm just sitting here like, I did a pageant once. So it's good to know, like, I'm speaking from a perspective of not necessarily overcoming, but learning to live with this, because I feel like not a lot of people come out and say what it's like to live on the autism spectrum. A lot of people talk about the struggles and everything like that, but they don't talk about, you know, what they've done to make their lives better while living on the spectrum.
Welcome back, my friends, to Autism Live. I am here with a very inspirational young man. Kobe Bird is here with us. And you're back. This is your second time on the show. Thrilled to have you back. And I was saying earlier that I thought you were 15, but I lied. You're 14. It's just that you are so tall and so mature and so talented that you seem much older than your 14 years. But
yeah, true.
Excited to have you back here with us. Because you've had some amazing stuff happen since the last time you were on the show.
Yeah, a lot of amazing stuff.
So, first of all, you love performing.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's your favorite thing right now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I hear that it's something that you're just interested in doing all the time. Pretty much?
Yeah.
So when last you were on the show, you were doing the intimidation game with the Miracle Project. And you actually came in and you even sang some of the show with us here in the studio.
Yeah.
And then Jem and I came to see the show, and you were wonderful in the show. You were absolutely fabulous. He was playing a bully. For those of you who didn't watch that, and it was fascinating to watch because you're so nice. That is not in your nature to be a bully, but you did a great job. I believe that you were a bullying kid. You sold it. You definitely sold it and sang beautifully. And then that show closed.
Yeah.
And when did you hear about this camp, Broadway Dreams?
Let me see. I think Coach Elaine Hall was talking about it to me. She said she heard about this thing called the Broadway Dreams, and she said it'd be something that like they were not gonna be in it. So I decided let's do it. So the first day we were doing like vocal testing and like dancing, and that was pretty fun. We did dancing. That I sweated my head off. I was just soaking with sweat. It was really funny.
I looked like, because I was getting to see was it a week long or was it 2 weeks?
A week long.
A week long.
Yeah.
And I was seeing the pictures on Facebook. It looked like they really worked you guys hard.
Oh.
How many kids were doing, and they do this all over the place, but this was the Los Angeles camp that they were doing. So how many kids were in the camp with you, Kobe?
Honestly, I'm going to say probably 60 or 50 maybe.
Okay.
There was a lot of people.
Okay.
But,
and you had a bunch of different teachers.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were Broadway performers.
Mm-hmm.
They've been on Broadway. They know what is required to be on Broadway, and they weren't going easy on you guys at all, from what I could see. They were treating you like you want to be professionals, right? Okay, so you danced a lot. What else did you do?
We sang. So pretty much it was like a showcase. So it was almost like a class. So like it was almost like period 1 to period 2, like period 3, period 4.
Okay.
And pretty much you could choose which class you would go to, but pretty much all I did was just like singing and all that. But
so you went to the singing classes. What were the other choices? You could go to dance. What other kind of classes?
I go to dancing. We thought there was this really cool class that was talking about tape recording, like you video yourself recording, and they and accept it, like auditioning. And that was pretty interesting. And we had like we had all these other classes, and it was longer than school actually. Instead of like being from 8 to 2:30, it would be like from 8 to 6. So it was like extra school hours. It was almost like going to like a military school.
And but you loved it.
Yeah.
And you were excited to go back every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talk a lot on the show about when people find their passion, it doesn't matter how hard you have to work, it doesn't feel like work, right?
Yeah.
So were you just thrilled every day to be there? We have a couple of pictures too that Samantha can show of now somebody is look at you. Look, is that your headshot?
Yeah.
Look at how handsome you are, Kobe. And who are these people who are holding you?
I don't know the girl. I don't know the one, but that's Alyssa Lee. He's like one of the best like teachers ever. He's the best.
And I love your suspender look. You're looking all very Fosse
Yeah.
in this picture. Wonderful. So intensive week long. You get to pick your own classes, but you were mostly doing singing, and then it
Yes.
all culminates in a performance.
Yeah.
And is that because we aren't able to show, but we want to send people to a site where they can see. What did you sing for your final? Do you remember? I think that's what you sang for your final. Was
our last one was I Know Where I've Been from Hairspray.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the
And-
Hamilton thing that you did.
And her teacher was Alex Newell from Glee. He played Unique. He's the best. He was really funny, but pretty much we didn't do alt most of the time. Pretty much I did this other one called Dreamers Ball, which was like we were doing a Queen song, but we were all dressed in like different clothings. Like it was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But I saw a video of you doing a song from Hamilton.
Oh yeah, that was actually Miracle Project.
Oh,
That
okay. I
was-
thought you were doing that for Broadway Dreams.
Yeah, that was
It was for Miracle Project.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty fun.
And
that was awesome.
We're not able to show that here on the show because there's a lot of people in the shot that we can't get the permission from, and also the permission to use the Hamilton song. But before we're done, we're gonna tell people where to go so that they can potentially see that video, see your performance that you were doing.
Okay.
But so you did this whole week long thing, and it was over. How did you feel when it was over?
I was sad, but I still was telling my mom, you know what? Next year they might not do it at the Wallace, so probably it'll be at New York, and I'll probably just beg my mom over and over again to go to New York. And now I'm going to New York.
Okay,
so
and why
I'm
are you
excited.
going to New York? What happened?
Because there was this thing where they nominate 2 people from the Wallace, and I was one of them. So
Out of that 50 or 60 people,
they nominated me and some other kid. So yeah.
and so you got invited to come to New York to do what?
It's gonna be a show, I think. We don't really know yet. It's like some kind of show in New York. It's called the New York Showcase. So it sounds pretty cool.
And so when do you have to go?
I think November 15 or something like that.
Okay.
We're leaving in November actually.
And from what I've heard, it's like you get there like on a Friday and you rehearse all weekend, and then you perform on Monday or Tuesday. You don't get very much time. You don't even get a full week, is what I remember of it.
Yeah. I
So
think so.
intensive.
Yeah.
Do you get anything to rehearse beforehand before you get there, or just you're going to rehearse when you get there?
I think rehearsing and then we're just gonna do the show. I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it yet, but it sounds really cool.
And you're more than a little excited about this. 14 years old, and you're getting an opportunity to go and be on Broadway for one night to be able to do this showcase. Pretty exciting, but it takes some funds. And we've been talking on this show about sometimes, I'm going to get emotional, sometimes people need something to get the support to be able to do the thing that they can do, to be able to fly. We all need a little help and support along the way, and Kobe needs you and I to help him right now because he's got to get to New York. And imagine if this were your kid, we all want to be able to find the passion for our kid, right? And when they do find the passion, we want to be able to give them the things to be able to do, and sometimes it gets a little on the expensive side, as they say. So Kobe and his family could use a little bit of your help, and it doesn't have to be much, you guys. He's got a GoFundMe page, and there it is on the screen. Thank you, Samantha. So you can go there. You can see some of the pictures of some of the things that Kobe's been doing. And his mom was going to try to put up the video of him singing Hamilton. Take a look at it, and whatever you can afford to do, give this young man a little bit of your pocket change so that he can get to New York and that he can do this. Now, Kobe, I mean, it's amazing to me, and you're an amazing performer, and you're getting to go in and of your own talent, and that's all that it has to do with is your talent. But I want to bring up that you're one of the first individuals with an autism spectrum diagnosis to do this camp. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you the first one to get to go and do the showcase?
Well, when I was doing it at the WAS, my friend Dom from the Miracle Project was doing it with me too.
And so is he the other person who's been invited?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think it was
so we're not
nominated,
sure.
So I'm pretty sure it's just me. I don't
Okay.
know.
So, but what's lovely is that you're getting to go it has nothing to do with that. You're getting to go on your own merit. But the rest of us in your community need to applaud you for leading the way for everybody, and we need to support you to get you there. This is important. This is how we get to inclusion, you guys. So support Kobe, give to his fund so that he can go. And then we just want to see pictures. We want to see what happens, and we want to hear from you afterwards when you go about how amazing this was.
I'll tell you.
You're representing in a big, big way. First and foremost, yourself. But a piece of all of us wants to go with you. So amazing. You make me cry, Kobe. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to bring Kobe's dad in here, Nick Bird, and we're going to talk a little bit with him because I know some of you parents out there are wanting to know more about this inspirational story and where Kobe has come from, because progress has been made, and we're always trying to get to that. So we're going to share a little bit of their story. Stick with us. We're very excited because we're in the Noah's Ark exhibit, and we're here with Jason Porter. Thank you for taking us on this tour.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So you're going to show me around a little bit and show me some of the secrets of the Noah's Ark exhibit, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Cool, let's go. Yeah. So Jason, tell us, this is an amazing space. Why is it so incredible for children?
One of the values of the Skirball Cultural Center is taking care of the earth and one another, and so this idea of repurposing materials that would otherwise be tossed off was a big component to how we designed the galleries. It's based on, certainly the story that everyone knows is the one from the Hebrew Bible, the story of Noah. But in our research, we looked at over 200 flood stories from around the world, and many different cultures have flood stories that have similarities, and the similarities that we identified were these 3 chapters: the storm, some crazy challenge that comes to your life; an ark, a kind of means of survival, a way for a community to come together to survive; and finally the rainbow, which is this kind of symbol of hope, the second chance to make the world anew.
Love it. All right, let's take a look through, and we're going to talk about some of the learning opportunities that are available here.
Sure. We really wanted people to kind of discover what they were supposed to do. For example, this elephant has a gong in the center, and there's a little wheel here that you can turn and see what happens. But there's also some hidden things, like there's a little peephole in this polar bear, so it's kind of a moment where you could talk with your kids about what does it mean that that polar bear in there only has a small piece of ice to live on it, and you could talk about kind of the environmental issues that might be associated with it.
All right, should we go downstairs?
Yeah, let's check out the storm.
So Jason, what do you call this room?
This is called the Storm Gallery. In one side of the gallery, we have a storm wall, which is all sorts of sounds and sight effects to make the storm come to life. We have this, what we call the load up. It's fairly intuitive. You put animals onto the conveyor belt and you turn the wheel and they get loaded up onto the ark. Except you can't do both at the same time by yourself. It's kind of layered in the doing, the learning that we're really interested in, which is about this notion of working together in order to accomplish something. So, when you first get on the ark, obviously you enter 2 by 2 as the story goes. And so the animals in this first section of the ark, they're not quite sure where they should be. They're a little bit nervous about who to hang out with. The gallery is really organized so that the the animals are still in pairs. So we talk a lot about what are the elements of home that you need to survive. And it's really a nice kind of intro into the whole experience of being in a community, learning to be together with people who may or may not be the same as us. This gallery of Noah's Ark is unique, I think, in terms of the way that it was designed, that it offers a huge variety of experiences in a way that really accommodates people of all stripes and spots. So there are more quiet zones, like we just left in the move-in day, where you can come into this room where you have a lot of large motor things that are happening, including climbing, and we kind of have nicknamed this the arcade. It's kind of the chapter in the story where they're making new families and they're mixing with other animals that they've befriended. Oh, we have to talk about poop.
We can't do a show without talking about poop.
So, the other fact of life on an ark is that everybody poops. So the challenge is to, clean up.
Okay, so we're in the last room, very cool room. What do we call this room?
We call this the Rainbow Gallery. People really get that this is a place of hope. Sometimes there's an art-making project, that it ends in some sort of inspiration, that people feel like they're inspired to take action in the world and make it a better place.
Thank you so much for showing us everything and telling us about all the wonderful things at the Skirball Center. Welcome back to Autism Live. So we're having a little party in here. I'm here with Kobe Bird, and we brought his dad, Nick Bird, in to join us. I'm thrilled to have both of you. We've been talking, if you're just joining us, with Kobe about his Broadway dream. Kobe is 14 years old and a wonderful performer. Just participated in the Broadway Dreams camp this summer. That you took part in the one in Los Angeles that was at the Wallace Annenberg Center. And Kobe was telling us only 2 people from that camp were chosen to be invited to come and do a showcase in New York. We are thrilled and excited to announce here that Kobe was one of the 2 that was chosen, and there is a GoFundMe account so that you can help support Kobe in his Broadway dream. Samantha will put that on the screen for us again. But we asked for Nick to come in so that we could talk a little bit about how you got here. Because I think that's, this is so inspiring, right? And there are people that are out there who think, wow, maybe it's that, he was just always doing so well that this just happened and that there wasn't a whole lot of hard work. And I'm thinking that is not the truth.
No, to where he started being, diagnosed at 3 years old and having very, very little language. And then 10 years later, he's going to be performing on Broadway. So it's a long journey, and we're still on that journey, but it's been been really, really rough roads, and there's been really, really smooth roads. So it's the combination of both, with Cobes and his journey.
Yeah.
So it's
It's kind of amazing, isn't it?
It
to
really
be
is.
in this place.
Yeah.
And I need for the parents who have kids that are 3 years old, who just got the diagnosis, who are like, it's the big question mark, right? What's going to happen? I need for you to see that this is one of the many possibilities.
Absolutely.
10 years later.
Yeah, and it's a 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute type of journey. It's
Yes.
not in 15 years it's the next. And that was what it was for us. And when he was diagnosed, we were like, okay, well, what's the problem? That's the problem. How do we fix it? Or how can we, get through it?
Right.
And
what do we do to support it?
What do we do to support it?
Yeah.
And, for us was, we had no idea. No.
Right.
And then, you read books, and then you get into the community.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing is being a part of the community.
Yeah.
And everybody, we're all warrior parents. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and
I do.
And it does take a village, but it also starts at home, and it also starts with the parents. And I know a lot of parents don't want to admit, and they don't want to, they just don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, and you just there for the child and you're there to support. And that's how Rachel and myself, we just would support, and then you get support from everybody else.
Yeah.
And then you get plugged into, Autism Speaks, and you get to go to the events. And, we go to the autism walk at Pasadena every year, and the Rose Bowl. And, when you are with everybody and you hear other kids stimming or screaming, and you're like, okay, it's cool. Like, we're all together. It's nobody's looking at you weird. You don't have to explain, you don't have to justify, and you're all just, it's a comforting zone.
You find your tribe.
You do. And especially now that he's a part of the Miracle Project, with Elaine and what they're doing. When we watched Autism the Musical when it first came out, and that just it blew us away. And then now it's like he's a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yes, he's a big part of it.
So it's kind of like a full circle type of thing, but we're always going ahead and we're always moving forward. So.
And I have to say, you follow, as you said, you kind of follow in the footprints of the people in front of you. And I always think of putting the hand back to help the people along the way. And you guys have already done that for us. That you got to perform at the Autism Rocks. And that kind of happened because they reached out to me and said, do you happen to know any performers? And I said, oh, let me, you need to talk to Joanne Lara at Autism Movement Therapy, and you need to talk to Coach E, and gave them some names of people. And so then, and so that's why I came to the event, to kind of see how everything came to fruition. And I come along with my then 12-year-old son, who you had never met before. But I had met you, and I was listening to what kinds of things you were interested in. And I said, oh, you'll have to. So here was my son. You were in a group of people where you already were, you understood where you were and you were having a good time. And my kid was feeling on the outside and was sitting with me and like, I don't want to be here and whatever. And you invited my son to sit at your table with your friends and really made him feel he had such a good time. When we left that night, he said, this is one of the best nights of my life.
That's awesome.
And you did that. That's the kind of person you are, which is amazing. You made that possible for him. So I need people to know that, not only is Kobe this awesome performer, but he's the real deal. He's super fabulous. He is a good kid. But let's journey back in time a little bit. So you said he was diagnosed at 3.
Yeah.
Was there a time when you saw him regress, or were there just skills that weren't developing? What was happening that caused you to go, hey, something's up here?
It was just always being the late bloomer. Mm-hmm. And thinking, oh, he's just a late bloomer. Oh, he's going to get through it. And then you started seeing where he wasn't talking, and it was one word here, one word there. And then my wife read the Jenny McCarthy book, and she started seeing the similarities of her son with Kobe. And then we started, once he got diagnosed, and we did the gluten-free, dairy-free diet. And it doesn't work for everybody, just you try it and see if it works. And within 6 weeks of him being off that, you could see a huge difference in his language. Yeah. Where it was like red, and then he would be like, Mom, look at the red car. And so it was, you could see the change and just in behavior, language, and you can kind of start to see, you're like, okay, so this works for him.
Right.
And at the time, I mean, even living in LA, there wasn't a lot of places that had gluten-free dairy. Now it's the thing.
Yes.
Which is cool. It's good for us.
It is cool for us. Are you still gluten-free?
Yes, I am.
And dairy-free?
Mm-hmm.
I knew when we went to the Autism Rocks, because that was the other thing, that you invited my son to your table, and my son was having gluten-free too, and he was like, oh, you're gluten-free too?
Well, and the birthday cake for his party, that was
my gosh, that was the other thing, because Jem came to Kobe's birthday party, and they were starting to do the cake, and Jem started to wander off, and your mom said, wait, we have gluten-free, dairy-free, and I went, are you kidding me? You have a gluten-free, dairy-free cake? Yeah. And then Jem ended up getting a gluten-free, dairy-free cake for his birthday. Awesome. So, very exciting.
So it's so you get to see that, and that's what happened, and then he found music.
Yeah. So when did that happen?
Oh Man, that was
Like when I was 5 or something.
it. Was, yeah, around 5 or 6. You can just hear this little voice, and you can hear
And he
him
was
carrying a
singing.
tune. Yeah, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. He can carry a tune. And then we went to a Taka event, and it happened. Coach E was there,
Right.
and we had seen I think we had seen the musical, Autism the musical first, and then we saw them. We're like, oh, this is really cool. Like they're here, you know, this
Right.
is kind of cool.
Right.
And then she invited Kobe to come up on stage and sing, and he had this little fireman hat on, and she goes, "What song do you want to sing?" And he's like, "Hey Jude." So he gets up on stage, not having any experience or anything like that of dream of being on stage, and he gets up and this little voice comes out and he starts singing "Hey Jude," accompanied by a guitar, and then like
Completely
everybody,
unrehearsed.
yeah, unrehearsed, and then there's all the kids behind him, and they start singing "Hey Jude," and we're just bawling and crying,
I'm sure.
and so like that kind of started it, and he would just sing everything, and he'd hear a song once and he'd have it down, the tone, everything.
Do you remember that, Kobe? Do you remember singing "Hey Jude" on that stage?
It was a long time ago. Like a bunch of like jumbled memories, like
Yes.
jumbled stuff.
But you have a memory of it being fun though, maybe.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And he just gets up there and does his thing, and just like,
Yes, you can tell when he's on stage that he's enjoying it.
absolutely, yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier because you guys are going to go and see The Hunchback of Notre Dame next week.
Yeah.
And we're very excited about that. Earlier on the show, we had Glenn, the director, and unfortunately you didn't get to meet him. But when you go, you're going to get a chance to meet the actor, John McGinty, who's playing the lead. And I'm thrilled and excited about that. And we were talking about the fact that I particularly love going to see Broadway theater because you pretty much are guaranteed that there is going to be somebody on stage that you can tell that they are having the moment of their life being on that stage.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
so it doesn't have to be on Broadway. You can go and see that in a fourth grade play. It's just you aren't guaranteed it's going to be in every fourth grade play, where I think you are guaranteed in a Broadway production. You're going to see several people on stage on Wednesday that are having the time of their life.
Well, and the journey.
Yeah.
For me, that's the biggest thing is the journey and how they got there, and being at that moment.
Yes.
While we're watching, how
Yes.
everything is intersected, and that's, to me, that's what I love the most, and that's for him. It's that journey of him getting to this spot and how he got there, and why, and all the W's that you can put in there.
Yes.
And that's the funnest thing for us, and at least myself trying to watch him do this, is the journey. And people don't realize, like you said, you watch them perform and you see the performance, but you can pick out the one person, but you don't know how they got there.
Right.
And that's the one.
That's what
thing.
excites you.
That's what excites me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is that, so you're clipping along as a family, and you go, he's got this interest, we're going to feed this, and you had him start being a part of the Miracle Project, which seemed like a faraway thing, I'm sure, when you were watching Autism the Musical.
Yeah, that wasn't even a blip in our mind to go, oh, we're gonna
meet the woman who did this.
Yeah,
we're going to
yeah.
become good friends with her. She's going to invite our kid to be on stage with no rehearsal, and it's going to change, what we do with our free time for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But you kind of went with it. You said yes to it.
Yeah.
And thinking, well, maybe he's going to want to be a performer, but not expecting that, like, at the age of 14, you're going to go to New York.
Well, yeah, and that's, I think, for us has been, that's the biggest thing. But also, we're not letting the autism confine him, and we're treating it as like he's just Kobe.
Yeah.
There's like what, and so that was our biggest thing, was when he was in Miracle Project, he was around everybody that was just like him.
Yeah.
And it, like, we didn't, like, there was no like, oh, he has autism. No, like that didn't matter at all, because like you said, we're a family.
Yeah.
And seeing everybody and seeing the struggle, but also seeing the joy of them being on stage and performing. The last Miracle Project performance they had, I mean, I'm gonna get.
I already cried. We can go there.
It was just seeing the kids. I was there all week with them for rehearsal, and seeing some of the kids not have any language whatsoever, and then they get up on stage and they sing.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And that's for us, you know, Broadway, this, that, it doesn't matter. He loves being on stage and seeing these other kids that can't vocalize, can't do anything, and then they get up and that's a testament to Coach E.
Yeah.
Of how she can get that out of them.
Absolutely.
And like you said, being a part and having everybody in the audience, we're all like that's ours. Like we're all together. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, they're all
like and so when somebody got up and sang, it was like you're looking at the parents. You're like, I got it. All right. And so like they're crying and like they're hitting us from behind. It was just one of those things where you're like, that's the community.
Yeah.
And to see that, and you know, we don't let any kind of disability stop him from doing what he wants to do.
Yeah, well, he's not disabled.
No, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. That's the thing. And there are no labels.
Yeah.
It's Kobe, and it's he's playing with like the typical people and being a part of it, and it's like he loves it.
Yeah.
And he loves doing it, and it's just amazing. And like you said, the community is just so good.
Well, and I love that you're going to see when you go next week, because Jem went and saw Hunchback last Thursday, a week ago tonight, and I love what you're going to see is that there's an actor who has different abilities. That's it. It's different abilities, but you see a company that surrounds him, and the fact that he had a different ability elevates it through the roof.
And is he playing the Hunchback?
He's playing the Hunchback.
See, that's even cooler.
He's playing the Hunchback, and it's really kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So I know how Jem is. When we start to talk about these kinds of things, it's a little bit on the boring side. But I want to know, right? It's a little, to you guys, if we're honest, it's a little bit on the boring side, right? Because you're busy being you. And what we really care about is, are you having a good time?
I am. I really am.
And that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So 14, and you're going to do this in New York, but what's happening after this? What do you come back to? What's the next thing that Kobe's going to do?
I think I'm gonna do the Miracle Project in fall. I think. Yeah.
And do we know yet what the next Miracle Project show is, or did you wait till you all get there and make a decision together?
It's gonna be a show called Work, and it's gonna be about autism with business. So it's about like people with autism getting like jobs and stuff.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing. We actually, and we're not gonna end up having time. But there was a speech that I was going to talk about that was yesterday, having to do with just that. Maybe we'll have time to talk about that next week. But important, because you want to work, right?
Yeah.
You're already working in some respects, but your expectation, I would imagine, is that you are going to work. What job do you want to have? I think I already know.
To be a Broadway performer.
Yes. And so do you think that, and because anything could happen at this point, but do you think college is something that you're going to do on your way to being on Broadway? Is college in the mix?
Maybe.
Because, the truth of the matter is that you don't have to have gone to college to be on Broadway, but a lot of Broadway performers came to Broadway via college, and then other performers perform on Broadway and then go back to college. So... But there are some amazing opportunities. Do you know that I used to teach college theater?
Really?
I did. That's
Awesome.
what my master's degree is in theater. So I used to prepare people to be ready for Broadway.
That's awesome.
I'll hit you with some names when we're done of some people that I have helped to train. So I'm a big fan of college theater and what it can do and the opportunities it gives you to play. And get lots of opportunity to get ready for Broadway. But not everybody needs it in that order.
Yeah.
All right, so Kobe, you've got this GoFundMe. We want to remind people you can be a part of Kobe's Broadway dream. And that we're asking anybody who can search your car and your couch cushions, put together some change. There is no amount that's too small. Be a part of Kobe's dream. And be a part of this inspirational journey that he's on. The address is there, and take a look at some of the pictures. that are on that GoFundMe page so that you can see what Kobe's been up to and why you should be supporting this dream. Because this, I imagine, we work hard as parents, and you're both working parents, and everything that you've done to date, it's not inexpensive. Let's say that you've put a lot of things together for him to be able to do this. This is something that came out of the blue, an opportunity. It's not inexpensive to get to New York. And I think we all need to put ourselves in your shoes and think about, okay, if I had this opportunity for my kid, I would want everybody to stand up and say, hey, I believe in you and what you're doing, and I believe in your kid. And so get the card out, donate. As I said, it doesn't have to, don't get all like, I don't know how much, do what you can, and any amount is
and also
welcome.
share it.
Yes,
share. Like
share.
that's another thing too. It's if you give, great. If you don't, awesome too. Just share it.
Yes, because families need to see that this can happen.
Yeah, get the word
out.
out.
One foot in front of the other. Yeah. This is the kind of thing that can happen.
Absolutely.
Kobe, you're such an inspiration, and I'm so excited for you. You're gonna have such a good time. Have you ever been to New York City before?
I have not, but it's been my dream since I was 7 years old. I've always wanted to go. I've seen a lot of movies that take place in New York. I'm like, I want to go so bad because every single movie I watch takes place in New York and I can't even go.
But you're going to go. And
Yeah.
so are you studying up on how to ride the subway and what to do and what not to do in New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first plan is to go to Central Park and just run around.
Okay. And then are there other things that are on your bucket list for things that you want to do in New York?
Empire State Building, Staten Island. If it wasn't so hot, if it wasn't so cold, I would have wanted to go to Coney Island.
Oh, well, yeah, it'll be shut down by that point. But and it's going to be just because you're going in November. You're going to be just after the leaves. Have you been to New York before?
Upstate New York. My family's from upstate twice, but that was when I was young.
Okay.
Yeah, but not the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and are both you and your wife going to get to go and be there with him?
She's definitely going. I'm a maybe, so I'm not too sure. Yeah, with work and all that kind of stuff. So
absolutely.
But yeah, definitely her and Cobes.
Well, I hope it works out so that you can go, but I certainly understand that you still gotta keep the roof over the head while all this happens, which is another reason why people should help to donate so that mom and dad both can go, because these are the kinds of things. Put yourself in their shoes. You would want for the family to go and be there, and not have to miss out on it. And we'll look forward to the pictures, Kobe.
Oh.
There'll be pictures.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
your mom will take
yeah.
pictures. All right, we are totally out of time, and we're not even going to go to break before we end the show. I'm just going to make you guys sit here while I close out the show. I thank you guys so much for being here. We want to thank Glenn for being with us. We want to encourage people to go see The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and that we want to encourage you to give to Kobe's Broadway dream. We're going to be back next Wednesday. Dr. Grant Boucher will be back for Ask Dr. Doreen live, answering your questions. I know that there were many questions that came in yesterday, and we're saving those for next Wednesday. We've got great guests coming up for you all next week. We've got a civil rights attorney who's going to be with us on Thursday talking about autism and civil rights. It's going to blow your mind. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.